I feel like there are times in which opinions I've had have been typecast as you're this and you're that. You're politically aligned with this, you're politically aligned with that. Here's where I think Jay Stu and I actually come to an agreement. I think we're aligned. And Jason, if we're not, it's okay. But I consider myself a radical centrist. And what does that mean? That means I don't have to agree with one side and just go like, well, I'm a Democrat because I believe in this, or I'm a Republican, and then I have to believe in everything Democrats believe in. Or I'm a Republican because I believe in this and everything, right? A radical centrist is like, just basically a free thinker. And there are parts of every side that I like. And there are parts of both sides I'm like, I don't like either of those arguments. They're way too extreme. I'm right in the middle. Radical centrist. Jay Stu, are you anywhere near there?
I don't know. Radical centrist. I know you like that term, but I think that it's not okay to be somewhere in the middle because you have to choose a team in this day and age. You
do not have to choose a team.
I'm just saying that no. I'm saying in order to fit in with people, you need to choose a team. If you have views that are on both sides of the political spectrum, people don't know how to put you in a box. That makes them uncomfortable, and that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay. You make people uncomfortable?
I do. I
agree. Okay, so whatever you want to call yourself, I call myself a radical centrist. You want to call yourself a radical extremist. I don't know. Okay, but here's the point. Okay, I made this point about hiring black coaches a couple of years ago, and it was specifically around the Eric Bieniemy thing, right? Which you have smartly pointed out time and again that, hey, as anybody has said, DG was right on this one. And my point was then that in the National Football League, there is only one agenda. There's one thing that keeps everybody employed, and that's winning football games. And if you think for 1 second that these multi-millionaires, many of them billionaires, who own parts of or all of NFL teams, for any 1 second care about the color of somebody's skin in coaching a football team instead of who actually can help them win games, I don't think you've paid attention. You definitely haven't talked to anybody in the NFL. They legit don't care. Legit. They just want to win. Because when you win, everybody gets paid more money. Everybody stays gainfully employed. And if you're an owner, you get to go to the Super Bowl. You get to rub elbows with all of the other rich people that you see at the Super Bowl. That's the reality of it. I bring that up because I heard these comments from Troy Aikman, and I had a thought that is so. Again, the reason I say I'm radical centrist is because people think that opinion makes me like I'm some staunch Republican, anti-DEI. Like, no, I'm just telling you the reality of this particular business. I try to not talk about finance, about stocks, right? Like my old high school coach, the great junior college coach, Andy Ground, he was with us for like 2 weeks and helped give just incredible advice for me in terms of coaching. And he's now retired. He lives in Las Vegas, and he's giving me stock tips. And I'm like, how do you know all this stuff? He's like, this is what I researched. This is what I paid attention to. The last 10 years, I've just really, really invested in my own and my family's future, and this is what I study, and these are the podcasts I listen to, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? That's great. I don't give people financial advice outside of just don't buy stupid stuff. Right? Like, don't buy stupid stuff, eat at home, live a healthy lifestyle, you'll live longer. Like, again, that's all I can tell you. If you can't pay off your credit card bill on a monthly basis, you're buying too much stuff. But I don't give people invest in this and that. Why? Because I don't know what I'm talking about. Those aren't things that I've researched. So I'm not some staunch Republican. I'm just telling you who tells you the reality of the business of football, which is they just want to win games. Okay, so what is the lifeblood of the National Football League? Why is the National Football League the most popular American sport? By a mile. By a mile. And Jason, you've pointed this out time and again, and I've come around to agreeing mostly with you. I do think we look back at other great games and we think they were all spectacular with highlights, and they weren't. There's plenty of ugly football games. Right? When the Ravens beat the Giants to win the Super Bowl in 2000, that was an ugly football game. Ugly football game. We remember back of everything being better than it is now. It's how we work. It's how our brain works. That's why the Make America Great thing really makes us think that everything was better in yesteryear. It's brilliant because it preys on our psyche as human beings. But you have pointed out that the quality of the sport is not nearly what the reputation of the sport is. Is that fair? Like you call it the Zooropa. It's like the Zooropa tour, right?
Yeah, that has a lengthy explanation, but I will say this. The quality of play undoubtedly has gone down the last couple of years, and more loud voices are actually admitting it. And how it pertains to gambling is this. This is what I've always said. Because so many people gamble on games, so many people have fantasy interest in the games, that the league is not motivated to improve the quality of play because the money's still coming in. On every platform, like yesterday, they released the news that concussions are down 17%. And my first thought, oh, great. That means they're not going to make it a mandatory for people to practice more.
Correct.
Right? And
Correct.
And the quality of play is going to get worse.
All the things that people don't like, okay? They don't hit anymore. They don't practice anymore. It's not sharp. It's not. Those are going to continue because they're worried about the concussions. They're worried about more lawsuits. It's reality to it. You're right. Quality of play is going to continue to suffer, and you're not going to be able to lay a hand at all on a quarterback. And the kickoff rule, whatever you think of it, it's going to stay because all of these things are what they believe the 17% decrease in the number of concussions are a result on some form or fashion of all these new rules. But then I heard what Troy Aikman had to say about gambling and the Chiefs, and it brought to my mind something that needs to be said. Here's Troy yesterday.
The league is in partners with a number of these gambling services. So here you are promoting gambling. People are gambling more than they ever have before. And those types of calls, there's a lot at stake regardless, but especially when you're considering there's a lot of money that's changing hands with these calls as well. So I think that we owe it to the fans that we get it right. And I think we're at a point in time where we can get it more right. So that was really my position, and just trying to lean on the NFL and say, hey, we've got to fix this. We've got to address it in the offseason.
So here's my thought, and it doesn't necessarily pertain to Troy, because Troy wants to do the impossible, and the impossible is getting something perfect that is imperfect. Right? Getting something perfect that is imperfect. One example I like to use is that 97% is the threshold for being a fact scientifically. Science leaves this 3 percentile, 1 percentile, whatever it is, as the possibility that they got it wrong. And people want things to be 100%, and nothing is 100%. It's just not. It's not the way it works with really smart people. They leave a percentage out for, I don't know, there could be some act of God or some random thing that makes it so that it's not 100% true. Or just, that's what a scientific fact is at 97%. We want this game to be perfect. It's not. We want the officiating to be perfect. It's not. Do you know how long it would take to review every penalty, to make sure they got every penalty on every play called? It would be just incredibly tedious to watch. But the other side to it is there is this, because we are a nation of conspiracy theorists, right? You have a president who is a conspiracy theorist. You have potentially the guy who's going to run the HHS is a conspiracy theorist. Like, these people have come into power. It's now empowered conspiracy theorists to believe that these conspiracies are in fact true. There is a conspiracy theory out there that says that the NFL wants the Chiefs to be in the Super Bowl. Sam, you, Jay Stu, Dan Byer, would you guys agree with that? That there is a theory out there that the NFL is wanting for the Chiefs to be in the Super Bowl. Fair?
Yes. Somebody thinks that. Yes.
Yes. Let me tell you why that is maybe the dumbest thing any human being can ever utter. And when they say these things to you, you say, hey, before I have this reaction, I want to know, do you really actually believe that? And if they say yes, here should be your response. Can anyone keep a secret nowadays? Can anyone? And the answer is, for the most part, no.
Nope.
Right. So with social media, with Reddit, with all kinds of different things you can take your name off of, we learn things about people we didn't even want to know. Okay? So in order for this to happen, I would say at minimum, 100 people would have to know about this conspiracy. Right? You have the officials, and you have NFL officials, and it's not as simple as those NFL officials talk to the officials and say, hey, make this happen. There would be all of the family members of those officials. There would be other ancillary people in the NFL's headquarters, and all different sorts of people in between. And even if there were only 10 people who knew on the face of the earth, the idea that 10 people could keep it a secret is laughable. And as Troy pointed out smartly, not only do people gamble on the NFL, that's why the NFL is the most popular sport in American sports, it's the easiest to gamble on. Right? Fantasy sports has been around for years with baseball, but football, it's way easier because there's not 162 games. So between gambling, between the way it's on TV, how easy it is to consume, how there's a fairly limited number of teams as opposed to college football, like all of those things make it so it's the number one sport in America. But the big part of the lifeblood of it is we gamble on it. And if you're no longer a true sport, if you're an entertainment industry like the WWE, if the outcome is predetermined, you can't gamble on it. And that would cost them essentially everything they're worth. All of the franchise values, which are in the $5+ million range, would cut at least in half, maybe even more so, if it was. That's what they would be risking. Now I ask you this, and I want to be serious. Be serious. Just like we talked about the Eric Bieniemy thing. In order to buy an NFL team, you have to have some sort of business acumen. And many, especially the new owners, are brilliant in business. Do you think any of them who continue to use the NFL and the earnings of the NFL as an essential ATM for their family and friends, do you think any of them would say, hey, is it worth the risk of cutting our franchise values in half, or maybe in thirds, or maybe even lower than that, just so the Chiefs could get to the Super Bowl? Right? I don't know if that's radical centrist, but that's just the reality talking. So my point is that if you are one of these people that thinks the NFL is rigged in any way, okay, I want you to think about that. Think about what it would mean to the NFL if they got caught rigging the NFL, if they got caught forcing the Chiefs to be in the Super Bowl. Do I think it was a blown call on fourth down? Yes. Do I think it was atrocious? Absolutely. The officiating was beyond awful. Does it seem to help the Chiefs? Yes, it does. Do I think it's a league mandate to get the Chiefs in the Super Bowl? I don't. If that's radical centrist territory, if me telling you you're a dum-dum for believing the conspiracy theories on social media that somehow tell you the Chiefs are preordained to be in the Super Bowl, you need to consider what it would do to the league as a whole, what it would do to gambling on the league, which is the lifeblood of sports. And if you still believe that, now we can no longer have a conversation because you're a mouth breather who will believe anything that you read on social media.